Good afternoon, church, and welcome back to Theophilus's diary. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed writing this. And yesterday, Theophilus was busy preparing for Passover, and he was really looking forward to it. Today, everything changes. He's going to be down. This is a sad time. I want you to understand his emotion and his confusion. This is Wednesday, Nisan 14, the first day of Passover and the crucifixion of Christ. It's April 8th. He says, "Dear diary, this morning I heard a great commotion. As I stepped outside, I saw 3 men carrying their crosses towards Golgotha, the place of execution. The third man looked particularly strong and healthy, but behind him was the most grotesque hunk of human flesh I'd ever seen. A man beaten so badly he was barely able to walk, and you could see bones protruding and guts oozing. The man next to me screamed, 'Blasphemer!' When the severely beaten man walked by, that is when I knew it was Jesus. I was caught up in the energy of the moment and followed the crowd to the place called Golgotha. I watched as they laid these men in the dust and nailed them to the crosses. I screamed, 'Crucify them!' along with the crowd, and looked at the blasphemer with disgust as they hoisted his cross into place. In one area of the crowd, I saw several temple priests and was surprised because these men should have been preparing for the Passover sacrifice to take place later this afternoon. Jesus looked like a glob of bloody flesh with torn branches wrapped around the top of his head in a mocking manner. As people hurled insults at him, I was surprised to hear one of the other condemned men join in with ridicule of his own. I had seen crucifixions before, but this seemed different. I was mesmerized as I couldn't take my eyes off Jesus. The blood dripping from his body gave the illusion that it was melting. His hands and his feet had large spikes protruding from them. And beneath his cross, there were Roman soldiers casting lots for his clothes. He spoke for the first time from the cross and seemed to be asking God to forgive the enraged masses around him. I heard him a couple more times, but I couldn't make out what he was saying. There was an ominous feeling. It was dark over the entire region. That was when I first realized that something extraordinary was happening. I needed to leave in order to take my sacrifice to the temple, but I was frozen in time and space. After 3 hours of darkness during the middle of the day, I was stunned when when he finally spoke again, quoting the 22nd Psalm in perfect Hebrew, "Eloi, Eloi, lama sabachthani." That is, my God, why have you forsaken me?" Some thought he was calling for Elijah, but I knew exactly what he was saying. I grew up singing that song about the God of David with pierced hands and feet. For the first time, that psalm made sense to me. God was on that cross, and I was part of the mob that encircled him, pierced his hands and feet, shouted insults, and cast lots for his clothing. My heart is now breaking. This was the Messiah, and I was one of his murderers. A few moments later, the ground shook, and he cried out, "It is finished." And then he died. An executioner thrust a spear in his side and broke the legs of the other 2 condemned men to hasten their deaths so everyone could get ready for Passover sacrifice. But at that moment, Passover seemed to have a whole new meaning. Today, read Psalm 22 and Matthew 27, 1 through 56. I'll say that again. Read Psalm 22 and Matthew 27, verses 1 through 56. That'll give you an idea of what was taking place on this day, Wednesday, the day of crucifixion. And then pray. There is a historical debate that seems to take place this time of year over who actually killed Jesus. Was it the Romans, who were the only ones who could legally condemn a man to death, or was it the Jews who insisted that Jesus die? I contend that until you have virtually stood at the foot of the cross and realized that it was for your sin that condemned him to crucifixion, you don't really know him. Meditate on that price that was paid for your salvation, and pray for others that don't know him yet. Again, thanks for being here, and may God bless you.